On this week's episode of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast, I go over updates for the Call of Duty and Gears of War movies, Avengers Endgame getting a re release with additional footage, and trailers for Coyote vs. Acme and Clayface. All this and much more on the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. Well, welcome back to another Friday News Roundup edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. I'm your host, Adam Zolnai. Thank you, as always, for listening. And remember, you can listen to this podcast here on Substack or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts. Wherever you want to listen, it is available to you. Thank you, as always, for listening. Just before we get going, want to do a couple of updates on the Substack. Current article out this week is one on Andor and what Star Wars can learn from it. Really liked writing that one, and I hope you enjoy reading it. Check that out if you haven't. I happened to time it perfectly with Andor's anniversary for the release of the second season, excuse me. So check that out. Also, I did a podcast that was released last Saturday with the wonderful Mr. Hyde, who's a fellow Substacker. We had a great discussion on movies. Go ahead and check that out if you haven't. It's available on all podcast platforms as well as Substack, so go ahead and check that out. Also, just a reminder, if you like what you've been hearing slash listening or reading slash hearing and want additional content, I offer a paid tier at $6 a month or $50 a year. With that paid subscription, you'll get to ask me questions that I'll answer right here on the Friday podcast, along with spoiler reviews of major films that are coming out. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Spider-Man in full, because the reviews I'll be putting out for everybody will be non-spoiler reviews or very light on spoilers depending on what the spoilers are and what I think I can work around for the review. And then I'll release for all of you paying subscribers, I'll be able to release a spoiler-filled review to get my full thoughts on the movies out to you guys. So if you want to upgrade your subscription, just go ahead and go to Substack and click on the upgrade button, and it'll be able to take you through that and get that all set up for you. But as always, whether you are paid or a free listener, thank you so much for listening and reading. I really appreciate your support. Again, this is kind of a dream job of mine, so being able to start out and doing it has just been a blast, and I have no plans to stop. So thank you. With that, let's get on to the news, shall we? So first up, we got a couple of updates for some video game movies. The first one being the Call of Duty movie, which I honestly forgot that this was in development. So, yay, I guess. For those of you who are gamers, I do like Call of Duty. It's not my favorite franchise. There are some games I like, some games I don't. I just don't see the point of the movie, but we did get an update where we got a release date for it, actually. It's set to hit movie theaters on June 30th, 2028, so a couple years from now is when it comes out. There's no official movie title for this. It's just being called the Call of Duty movie, but there's no official name for it yet, so it's not like Call of Duty Modern Warfare or Call of Duty Black Ops or anything like that. We know that it's being directed by Peter Berg, who did Hancock, Battleship, and Mile 22. And it's also being co-written by Tyler Sheridan. So if you like Yellowstone, Tulsa King, all those shows, Landman, he helped write this movie. So that's a positive. I'm kind of shocked that Tyler Sheridan would be involved in something like Call of Duty, but hey, it can't help. It can only help the movie, not hurt it. Overall, my thoughts on this are I'm taking a wait and see approach for this just because Call of Duty, I enjoy some of the campaigns like the original Modern Warfare trilogy, the first two Black Ops, even the first two reboot Modern Warfare campaigns were pretty good story wise, but I've never thought of it as a story rich franchise. Like there's some cool characters in it, but there's never been that thing that made me go, "Oh, I really want to see a movie of this." I mean, it's a military movie, and I guess you can make an interesting action movie. I just don't know how you make it separate, how you make it stand out from just generic military movie. Like the games, the big thing is the games have the multiplayer aspect to kind of hook in people who aren't there for the story. So you have the zombies and just normal team deathmatch and stuff like that to kind of grab people that aren't interested in the story. So if I were to do a if I were to do a Call of Duty movie, I would go more towards Black Ops, maybe adapt some of the original Black Ops campaign stories, just because those I felt were a little bit more interesting and a little bit more unique. Like again, I love the Modern Warfare campaigns, don't get me wrong. I just think the Black Ops, if you're going movie wise, those are a little bit more cinematic and a little more interesting. You might be able to hook more general audiences who might roll their eyes at seeing, oh, a Call of Duty movie, yay. You might be able to hook them with the Black Ops angle because you have period piece, you have a lot more psychological warfare involved there. So you have that aspect of like who can you trust, a spy angle, a thriller angle that you can add to that, tie it in with real world history. So there's something more to grab there. Whereas with the Modern Warfare, like again, those games are good, but they go a lot more bombastic, generic uh, blockbuster style, which is fine. I enjoy them. I enjoy the balance between the two storylines. That being said, just based on Peter Berg being involved, he's more of a old-fashioned, over-the-top blockbuster guy. So I imagine that that's probably where they're going to go is more Modern Warfare than Black Ops. But again, with Tyler Sheridan or Taylor Sheridan, I don't know why I said Tyler. I was thinking of something else, I guess. Taylor Sheridan involved. I think that'll help kind of counterbalance the more over the top elements that Peter Berg brings to his movies. So it's a good pairing. I'm intrigued. I can't say I'm excited yet. I'll need to obviously see something from this movie before I go, oh yeah, I'm seeing this movie. But I'll probably see it for the Substack. But before I can say like I'm genuinely excited, I obviously I want to see more and see what they're doing. I mean, you could take the actors that they used for the newer Modern Warfare games and just cast them into the movie. Like they use the facial models and their voices, or they use their faces and voices for the game. So you might as well just cast them in this movie. It would make sense. And I know at least the guy who plays Captain Price in the new games has done some movies, so it's not like or Shamsos. I don't know if he's done movies, but he's had some experience beyond just video games. So you'd already be kind of able to leapfrog some issues in terms of having a actor get familiar with the character when you already have people who've played these characters and just hey, here's an add layer thanks to Taylor Sheridan for you to kind of chew on as an actor. So I'm interested. We'll see how that goes. But to another video game movie, Gears of War. This is a movie that's been in development. I feel like for at least a decade at this point. And the current director attached to it is David Lynch. And if you aren't familiar with that name, you were definitely familiar with his work. He was involved in the John Wick movies. He did Bullet Train, Fall Guy. What else? I think he a Deadpool 2. I think he was involved in. So if nothing else, the action will be unique. And the update he gave is, and I quote, Gears of War, I think, is going to happen. We have a great draft that's in progress, that's in really great shape, and the studio is more determined than ever to make it. So it sounds like they have the full force of Microsoft behind them, and I think part of that is because Microsoft is seeing what PlayStation is doing with all of their properties, where you've had an Uncharted movie, The Last of Us TV show has been very successful, God of War is in development at Amazon, Horizon Zero Dawn's in development at Netflix. So you have all of these uh, Sony properties that are getting moved into television and movies. So I imagine Microsoft kind of wants to get in on that too. And the Halo show didn't do him any favors, but I don't know about Gears of War being a movie. Like, I think it'd be entertaining. It would definitely be over the top. If you could, if they go with the approach of like a Starship Trooper style of just over the top violence and everything. And I mean, you have big burly dudes fighting rock aliens that burrow up out of the ground, and they have chainsaws at the end of their guns. Like, this is not a movie to be taken like super duper seriously. Like, there's some serious elements in the lore, and it's very much a statement of what happens when you live under a militaristic, almost fascistic government. And I mean that's something that you could kind of angle in with the movie. I don't know if David Lynch has good action. I don't know if he's good for a Gears of War movie because his movies are very much more stylized and hand-to-hand combat incorporating guns. Again, John Wick, you have the gunplay, but then also you have the a lot of the hand-to-hand stuff too. Gears of War is not really like that. It's very much just run and gun, again, over the top violence. Here's a pitch, and this will sound a little weird if you know me real well. I think Zack Snyder would actually make a really good Gears of War movie. Like if you could take his 300 sensibilities and pair that up with Gears of War, I think that would actually make a really ridiculously fun Gears of War movie. Again, I don't know if he would get all the subtleties that are in there. Sorry for any Snyder fans listening. I don't think Zack Snyder's the best storyteller visually. He's got a good sense of visual aesthetics, but storytelling wise, I just don't think he's good. But I think he could do really well here. Let me see who's writing the script for this. Oh, and it's for Netflix. I forgot to mention that. It's still uh going to be released through or on Netflix. And Dune and Doctor Strange scribe I don't even know how to say this last name. It's Spahts. So you get your guess as good as not mine, but I guess he worked on Doctor Strange and Dune for a little bit. Um, Dave Bautista has obviously been gunning for the role of Marcus Phoenix, the main character in the games. I don't know if that's the best fit, especially now. Not saying he couldn't pull it off, but I just think, especially at his age, I would want someone a little younger to play Marcus and a little bit more gruff. But again, I'm intrigued. This is another one where I need to see more of it before I can get super duper excited for it. Just because I love the Gears of War games. They're a lot of fun, especially the original trilogy is just a blast to play. Even today, it holds up really well. I just don't think I need a movie personally. Again, maybe if they lean into more of the horror elements that the first game had, especially that could make it kind of interesting where you have like this sci-fi over the top jack dudes fighting rock monsters, but there's also some scary points where it's like, oh, even these huge dudes are scared of what's going on. I guess I better be concerned too. So there's that element to it. Again, it'll be interesting to see how this develops moving forward. They got some good people attached to it, so I can see eventually Microsoft pushing this through. Again, especially as Sony's franchises continue to have success on other platforms besides video games. So Microsoft I think, is definitely want to get into it, and I hope that means that we get another shot at Halo with someone who actually loves the games. Please, God, let that happen. We'll see. But moving on to some Disney news, especially in the realm of Star Wars and Marvel. Real quick, I just wanted to mention that there was a new Mandalorian and Grogu trailer that was released. It gave us a little more glimpse of the story, basically hinting that what Mando and Grogu have been up to since the end of their TV show on Disney Plus. They've been hired by the New Republic to hunt down Imperial remnants and stuff, and then it looks like they're going to get hired to protect Jabba the Hutt's son, which if you're a Clone Wars fan, you know who that is. Overall, again, the trailer looks fun. Again, my biggest issue with this movie is just every time I get excited about like, oh, Mandalorian action, Star Wars Underworld, getting to see that more grimy side of the Star Wars universe, which we're kind of getting with the Darth Maul show right now, which has been enjoyable to watch. Highly recommend it if you're a Star Wars fan, by the way. I just get annoyed because then they always have to insert Grogu doing something adorable or like, oh, don't forget that this little guy is so cute. Even when you look at him trying to push buttons and fight and making cute noises, again, I can almost feel the marketing team being like, insert Grogu scene here. We gotta sell merchandise. Do it, do it. And again, obviously, I'm going to wait for a full verdict when the movie comes out next month. I will be reviewing that when it comes out on opening weekend. I really hope that they're able to balance those elements because Grogu just again feels so forced and out of place in that trailer, in my opinion. So we'll see. But moving on to some even bigger news. So we did get a Avengers Doomsday trailer. Unfortunately, you can't watch it officially. I'm sure there's leaks out there. I'm sure on Twitter and the deep interwebs, but I want to wait until it's officially released. And at the time of this recording, they have not officially released the trailer. But the Russos did talk about Endgame being re-released in theaters in September as kind of a celebration, a way to start hyping up Doomsday. And they revealed that there's going to be new footage added to this re-release. And according to Joe Russo, it is vital to bring back Endgame into theaters, and the footage is important viewing for Doomsday. I don't like this approach at all. I mean, I guess now we can say Marvel Studios has officially captured the feel of the comics where we're retconning and adding to stories that happened years and years ago in order to set up stories that are happening now. I don't like this idea. The setup should have been done the last few years. Again, I know they pivoted from Kang to Doctor Doom, but Robert Downey Jr. was publicly announced as Doctor Doom in 2024. They knew they was going to be Doom, I think, before that. At the earliest end of 2023 would be my guess. You had 3 years to start seeding Doom. You had a Fantastic Four movie, Fantastic Four, who are directly connected to Doom, integral to each other. Like that is a foundational relationship, is the relationship between the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. And you did nothing with that except reference Latveria a couple of times. Like we don't even know if Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom is from the same universe as the Fantastic Four. So to re-release a movie, and obviously I think some of this is because Marvel wants to start hyping up Doomsday, and again they haven't done a great job of doing that in my opinion. So they're going to re-release their last hugely successful Avengers movie, and then also add footage. Now, I don't know how much footage they're adding to this. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 20. The movie Endgame's already 3 hours long, so I can't imagine how much that they would be adding to it. But either way, I do not like this. I really don't. The setup should have come the last few movies, not a re-release of a seven. Wait, no. Yeah, seven. No, no, no. 2019 is when it came out. It's 2026. So yeah, seven, seven. I can do math sometimes. So almost a 7-year-old movie. You're re-releasing a 7-year-old movie and adding footage to it in order to set up a movie that's coming out in December. That's just bad storytelling to me. And again, I have faith that I'm hoping that Doomsday is good, but this really just highlights for me the lack of setup for Doom and how much this feels rushed and really just kind of forced together. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but this does not give me hope. Now, if they were releasing Endgame, which is fine to do, release your last big Avengers movie to kind of again get some hype. They could have done something where, hey, well, we're adding a scene in the after credits that's connected to that bridges the gap between Endgame uh and Doomsday, and after the re-release is done, we'll release it onto the internet, which they may end up doing with the extra footage anyway. But to say like, no, you have to see this. We have added extra footage into the. It sounds like it's in the movie. Like they added extra scenes into the movie to basically make a whole new cut of Endgame. I would have just had them do an after credit scene, kind of like what Captain America: The First Avenger did with the first Avengers movie, where it's like the after credit scene, you get that little scene of Captain America punching the bag and Nick Fury recruiting him for the Avengers Initiative. Then you get a brief 30-second teaser, and it's like out later this year, or next year, Avengers. Like they could have done that, and I would have been fine with that. But this sounds like they again it just create a whole new cut, and I just don't like that. And part of it is too is they're hyping up this new Infinity Vision, which is a new format that they're going to be releasing movies in, and basically it's kind of like Disney's own version of IMAX. A lot of people are speculating that this is because Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday come out at the same time, and Dune Part 3 is getting all the IMAX screens because they already had a deal in place. So they're creating their basically they're like, well, fine, we'll make our own IMAX with Avengers and Robert Downey Jr. And they're calling it Infinity Vision. It will basically have a premium screen with great sound quality. Basically, again, it's their own version of IMAX. It's like that's fine, and they're going to be releasing Endgame in that format to kind of hype people up. So it definitely feels like they're very much just using this re-release as a way to again build audience hype and to get audiences ready for Doomsday. And so in the end, this could be a lot of bluster of them saying, "Yeah, there's a ton of extra footage you need to see it." It could be just a marketing ploy to get you to see it in their new fancy IMAX knockoff screenings, or it could be, but again, the way they're making it sound is that no, there's stuff here that you need to know in order to enjoy Endgame, and I just do not like that approach. But we'll see when it comes out. Again, this is coming out in September. I would like to think that whatever additional footage is in Endgame, that they put it out on the internet in some way for people to see. I would hope that they would do that. I would imagine they would. We'll see, but moving on to some other Marvel Studios news. Ryan Reynolds has announced that he's working on a new Deadpool movie. Makes sense considering that Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.3 billion at the box office. He spoke on the Today Show. And he said, and I quote, I have some stuff written, but I don't think I'm ever going to center him again. He's a supporting character. He's a guy that is great in a group." So it sounds like his next Deadpool movie will also be a team up movie of sorts. Makes sense because again, Deadpool and Wolverine made a bunch of money, and a lot of that was due to Hugh Jackman coming back, playing Wolverine, and getting in the iconic suit. I just don't know where Deadpool would fit at this point. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Deadpool and Wolverine. For me, it felt like a lot of little comedies get stitched together into a movie, as opposed to the first two, which were actual movies with plot that had a lot of comedic elements in them. I just I didn't enjoy it as much. So I'm hoping that with this one they can kind of use him as just have him there for comedic effect. Maybe make an actual legitimate X-Force movie and then have him be the funny one in that movie. That would be fun. I actually wouldn't mind that, especially if like they have the new person playing Wolverine in that movie, because then you can have Deadpool just being like, "Well, you're not Hugh Jackman," or I like the other guy a little bit better, you know, world's sexiest man and all that. Like that would be kind of funny to see that. But otherwise, I don't see where he would actually fit, because while we know they're going to lean heavily into X-Men after Secret Wars, I just don't think you're putting him in like a regular X-Men movie. He just if he did, it would be like a brief cameo. It would be one scene of just like, "Hey guys, I'm in this movie too, here to boost up the box office," and that's it, and then he's gone. I don't see him. I just don't see him being in a mainline X-Men movie, and I just don't know who else you'd team him with besides Wolverine. Like there's not a lot of different characters. Maybe do a proper Deadpool and Cable movie. That would actually be kind of fun. Like, but again, we already kind of got that in Deadpool 2 a bit. So I don't know who you pair him up with, but I'm intrigued. And again, it's not surprising that they're making a Deadpool movie, another Deadpool movie after the last one made so much money. But we'll see. So moving on to the other big comic book movie and distributor, DC released their first teaser for the movie Clayface, and it definitely is upfront about the horror vibes. The teaser was very much just showing a lot of different shots of Clayface coming to terms with his body being made of clay, a lot of body horror in it. It's intriguing. You got Mike Flanagan producing this, so he's really a big name in the horror genre. I'm not the biggest horror fan, but this movie has me intrigued. This is set, as far as we know, in James Gunn's DC universe. They've said Batman's not going to be in it, which I think is a huge mistake. I think they it'd be interesting to make Batman almost like the villain of this Clayface movie, where it's like we don't really see him, we just know he's there. He fights Clayface a few times, and again, it just would feel it feels weird that this would be our introduction to Batman in the DC universe, or at least his world. Like obviously we get some shots of Gotham City, and it looks great. Again, it was only about a minute long, so there isn't much to grasp, but they're definitely not shying away from the fact that this is going to be more of a horror movie. I'm intrigued. Again, I want to see Clayface fight Batman. I just don't want to have a whole movie of Clayface just being like, blah, what's happening to me? My face. What's going on with my face? Like, I wanna actually enjoy Batman fighting Clayface like in the comics. There's a reason there's not many Clayface solo series in comics, but I'm intrigued. Obviously, we'll know more as this movie gets closer to its release date in October. I think I think it'll be good if nothing else, just because of the names attached to it. It's only a $40 million budget, which again, really smart that DC is kind of bouncing budgets depending on what the project is. I'm intrigued by this if nothing else. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was another trailer. It was Coyote versus Acme, the long-awaited live-action Looney Tunes, or I guess cartoon live-action hybrid movie. The big unique thing about this is the fact that it had been in Warner Brothers basically trash bin for, oh, man, was it like 5 years? I think it was developed in 2021. Like the film was all but done, and then Warner Brothers was bought out, and this movie was shelved for tax purposes, along with a unreleased Batgirl movie where the movie was finished. I'm sure there might have been like some effects that needed to be touched up or whatever, and they just kind of canned it for tax refunds basically. And so there was a big movement to get this pushed, and a big push to get this released, and it is finally done. They finally done it. It's coming out in August. The trailer looks funny, and they are not shying away from taking shots at. They are not shying away from taking shots at Warner Brothers. It's hilarious. Because if you don't know, Warner Brothers end up selling this to another distributor. That's why it just says in association with Warner Brothers Animation. Like they are leaning heavily into it. It looks to be. I had one person on Substack. I apologize if I can't remember your username off the top of my head, who said this looks like it's going to be a funny political satire. And yeah, it definitely looks to be that way. Of just like, oh, big corporations, doing shady stuff and getting away with it and all that kind of thing. But also like people are dumb and using products the way they shouldn't, because of course Wile E. Coyote is not very good at using those Acme products to catch that stupid Roadrunner. So it looks hilarious. I wasn't that interested in it, but now that I've watched the trailer, I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to go see this movie because this actually looks legitimately enjoyable, and I might be able to take, depending on what it's like, I might be able to take my son to it. He might enjoy watching these cartoons just goof around for an hour or so. I'm intrigued by it. It looks funny, and I'm glad that it came out. The Batgirl one, not to shift topics, but that one never intrigued me. It just sounded like it was a mess because it was kind of in the Snyderverse continuity, but also kind of wasn't, and it just sounded like it was a jumbled mess. Like Michael Keaton was Batman, but then J.K. Simmons was Gordon, but he had a uh, but also it was like, Batgirl was being played by a woman of color, and it's like, well, you already have a Gordon that's black in the Batman, so why not connect to that? It was all kinds of sorts of just messed up and jumbled. So I'm glad it didn't release, because it would have just thrown things more out of whack. But I am glad this one got released, because it looks funny. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like there was some effort put into it. The people who made it seemed to really, really like Looney Tunes. And I mean, the live action Looney Tunes movies haven't been like, I would consider like top tier movies, but they've always been enjoyable. Like the one with Brendan Fraser and Looney Tunes Back in Action is entertaining enough. Like I think I'm going to enjoy this one. I'm excited for it. But that's really all the news I had. Before I get out of here, I'll just say what I'm watching. Like I said earlier, I'm watching Maul Shadow Lord, an animated Star Wars show that's been coming out every week, 2 episodes a week. I'm a little behind by it. I just finished episode 4. It's enjoyable. Like, again, seeing the under belly of the Star Wars universe, and it's almost like a cop show set in Star Wars, where you have this police captain that's trying to figure out what's going on with Maul and the rest of these crime syndicates while keeping the Empire out of his hair. That's kind of interesting. If I had one critique, it's just that for me, is the least interesting character in the show, because I already know how his story ends. I've seen a bunch of him, and his motivations boil just down to like, I want revenge, I'm angry, and want to be top dog again. And so it's like, it's intriguing to see that unfold, but as a character, I don't find him that interesting. I find the police Captain Lawson a lot more interesting, and that's fine. It's still enjoyable. There's hints that we could get the new version of Darth Talon in this universe. That would be fun to see, and I wouldn't mind seeing a Sith Padawan and Master relationship portrayed, because we've gotten hints of it, but man, we do not get to see like the full thing of like, oh, the Padawan trying to overtake the Master and stuff. They hinted that with Kylo Ren, but again, kind of flipped on that in Rise of Skywalker with him becoming good, but that's a whole nother thing. But overall, I'm enjoying this show. It's a fun watch. I highly recommend it if you're a Star Wars fan. Also, I've been continuing to watch Daredevil Born Again. Still really good. Got a couple episodes of that left. Just really, really happy to see that the quality of this season is definitely a tier above, at least from what we had last season. I'm glad to see that. I wouldn't say it's on par with the Netflix show, but it gets close at times. It definitely gets close. And I'm intrigued to see where they go. And of course, then as soon as that's over in a couple of weeks, we got the Punisher one shot coming out, which will be fun, and which should lead into Spider-Man Brand New Day. Overall, just really excited. Can't wait to see that. And actually, here's to hint at my next week's article on Substack for Wednesday. It will be MCU related, and the whole idea is going to be me discussing what the reboot should look like for the MCU after Secret Wars. And I have an argument on the side of full reboot, but you'll have to read the article to hear my reasoning, and I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. But as always, thank you so much for listening and reading. I really appreciate you guys are awesome. I just hit over 400 subscribers. Again, I can't thank you guys enough. I will continue to put out as best content for you as I can. And to those of you who are upgrading to the paid tier, I really appreciate you. I thank you so much for your support. Again, I'm trying to make this a business, so any support that you can throw my way, I really appreciate it. But that's all I got for this week. I will be back next week with more news. Bye.